Hello and welcome to the Digital Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Pat Lewis, and today's guest is a digital strategist and creative thinker who spent more than 15 years working at the intersection of creativity, culture, and technology, and is the former global head of digital at Patties Foods. It is, of course, Pierre Meneaud. Enjoy. How are we doing? Are we in is it your house? Is it your home office? What are we looking at behind you?
Yeah, it's just my apartment in Ivanhoe.
Oh, it's fresh. It's cool looking. You're a cool looking guy. This is not who I expected you to be.
Thank you, mate.
No way.
Yeah, I've got way too many plants for my own good.
Yeah.
But it's just something that stuck with me from a young age because my dad would always say, plants are better than people.
Yeah. And you need them, right? They make a space like infinitely better.
Yeah. So my apartment's actually a jungle there. You know, I just have my whole life is just dedicated to just watering.
That's a great way to live.
Yeah.
Well, man, look, thank you for joining us. I just wanted to, you mentioned something we spoke for the audience. We just had a quick catch up for a couple of minutes beforehand, but you kind of mentioned something, your take on the digital marketing space right now. You alluded to some really interesting stuff, and you've been in the industry for 10, 15 years, like a long, long time. What's changed? What's your take on the then and the now? What's the temperature gauge in your opinion? Where are we at?
Oh, look, that's a very interesting question. You know, so I feel like back then we were sort of a very different kind of creative outlet. You know, and I've spent years kind of steering big legacy brands or even small to medium sized legacy brands, you know, through back then we wouldn't even call it digital transformation. It was literally just pushing it online.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, you kind of realize we were kind of optimizing creativity out of existence. So now I think people need to find a way to reboot that conversation, you know, asking what happens, you know, when AI and human kind of imagination jam together instead of trying to compete. And that's it sort of reminds me that creativity isn't supposed to be comfortable, you know, and that's kind of where I see it sort of heading right now. It's a tricky space at the moment because like the way I see it is there's a hugely kind of common thread that runs, you know, between digital transformation for legacy brands and kind of doing stuff with my own creative platform, so to speak, right? You're basically, in the past, we were like trying to wake up a sleeping giant without giving it a heart attack and, you know, that kind of thing, you know? So it's literally about rewiring culture and not just plugging in technology for the sake of it, you know? So that's kind of where I see things working.
Yeah. And you alluded to kind of your personal projects just then, NonZeroSumGame and a new audiovisual project, Braek in Code, which I really want to get into. But first, I want to start kind of chronologically if we can, and just talk about your time as the global head of digital at Patties Foods. What is that like? Because brands that are that big and kind of their roots go so deep, what can you implement there without rocking the boat too much?
Look, I'll be honest. And you know, this is something I've said, you know, quite openly. Legacy brands don't need to chase freshness, in my opinion. You know, they already kind of own something most new brands can't buy, and that's memory. You know, the smarter play, in my opinion, is sort of to kind of remix that memory, not go out of your way to replace it. So when I was working with brands like, you know, legacy brands like Four'N Twenty and Nanna's, you're not selling a product, in my opinion. It's a cultural kind of timestamp. And the trick is to keep that feeling alive in the digital age
Mm.
without embalming it,
Yeah.
so to speak.
That's
So
a fantastic way of putting it. I think you almost run the risk of it becoming a bit of a cliche in itself, and something you can make a meme out of your product, and then yeah, it's difficult to get off that slope.
oh, there was quite a truckload of memes made in the process.
Right.
But but that's just it, man. Freshness to me isn't, about being trendy. It's about being meaningful, newly meaningful. So if you can make someone feel the same kind of comfort or pride they felt as a kid,
Mm,
that nostalgia through the lens of today's culture,
mm,
that kind of timeless relevance is what legacy brands need to play with. It's
mm,
the ultimate brand equity.
mhm,
Um, and my digital's job isn't to reinvent that nostalgia. It's to just keep it with a pulse and
mm,
breathe. That's
mm.
pretty much it.
So how? I mean, talk me through it. Like, what is a like? Because it just seems like you're in the working in that space. It's almost like as far as a product goes, it's almost like a hallowed product. Like it's just it's
Yeah.
like you talk about. Like it is. They've achieved something that other products can only dream of having. What is what do the operations look like? Without treading on too many legal toes.
Look, without the risk of running into like tedious territory,
Mm,
it's kind of look. I mean, I guess with legacy brands like this or businesses controlled by equity,
hmm
the penny finally drops. Digital isn't just a kind of nice to have anymore.
mm,
It's in today's economy, it's kind of the oxygen of brand relevance. So in my opinion, I feel like too many big businesses still treat it like it's a optional add-on,
mm,
something you brief in after the real work is kind of done. But
mm.
today, digital is the brand.
Yeah, it's the opposite is true nowadays.
Yeah,
Surely, like it's
and it's kind of where that memory gets remixed. When you use it properly. Um, Around legacy brands, digital doesn't dilute heritage by any means. In fact, it scales it.
mm,
So it lets a story that started in the 1950s breathe in 15-second bursts, creator
mm,
collabs, memes, AI-driven storytelling.
mm,
The heart stays the same, but
mm,
it's just the frequency that changes. Um, big One of the biggest things I've learned from working in big business and something that I take away as like feedback and phrasing in the way I deal with things is big brands just kind of need to stop treating digital like a side hustle.
mm. Yeah,
It's not the department, it's the bloodstream. So
yeah, yeah.
um, without it, even the strongest legacy flatlines. And you would have seen like with 4 and 20, like there was numerous amount of campaigns that we dipped our toes into, from the WWE to the Philadelphia 76ers
Mm,
to having, Ben Simmons as an ambassador to the Olympics,
mm,
um, to obviously our core, which is like footy.
yeah.
Um, but some of the real critical work that we pushed into was gaming, and the gaming culture is so huge.
Mm,
That's something I'm like super proud of within pushing that business into or that brand into areas that we would definitely not consider, 7 to 8 years ago.
yeah. Wow, that's I wouldn't have that seems like such a the gaming space and the that a brand like that seems in hindsight like a now like an obvious connection. Like of course. That's really, really cool. I know we said we start at the beginning there. I want to just go even further back for a moment. How did you get into digital to begin with? And do you think these kind of being a creative thinker, being a digital strategist, how much of this is taught and how much of this is just how someone's mind works?
Um, I can just speak for myself.
Please.
Like I don't think any of this was taught uh, to me or handed down or any of that kind of logic. I feel
Mhm.
like for me, um, both my parents are like very astute communicators. Like my mom was heading up communications for Unilever, and my dad used to work for a newspaper.
Mhm.
So both of their high levels of communication kind of translated into the stuff that I wanted to do. So from a young age, um, 16 actually, I was, punching out like coffees and toast to like producers in an ad agency. And that's
Mhm.
where it started, So I was like literally their pig.
Mhm.
But then I kind of went into, copywriting and, creative comms. Um, and then I took a sort of a hiatus to study um, and went traveling. And I met a guy at an outdoor party overseas,
Mhm.
and he was talking to me. And this was 2001, and he was talking to me about the future being online.
Mhm.
And if you really wanted to make a mark by taking communication, which is such a confusing movement to most people, um, and put it online in the most streamlined way possible, that's where the future is. So I
Mhm.
started researching, and then next step was, flying to Melbourne in the early 2000s, finishing up a master's of comms at Deakin, digital media, media futures, guerrilla filmmaking, all the fun stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and then kind of moved into like a editorial role. From there on, it was all digital and online
Mhm.
and social. And it was, I think the key ticket for me was communication,
Mhm.
understanding people, culture, and communication and the way they intersect online.
Sorry, I wasn't anticipating that sentence to enter. So I was mid coffee. Um, that's very interesting. I want to get into your you're currently building, or has it been deployed? Non-zero sum game.
Yep.
I want to know what that is. It's kind of. It sounds like It's kind of redefining the relationship, as you mentioned, of creativity, AI, how brands are built. What is it? What inspired you to make it? What does it do?
Okay, so in the beginning of the conversation with Stu, I was talking about how I took a redundancy and figured out what can I do with this positively,
Mm.
from a life perspective, right?
Mm.
And
Sorry, before you carry on, the redundancy was from where?
from Patties,
Gotcha.
yeah. So like I was trying to figure out, like, most people like just take that and just dive bomb for a bit and try and assess what they want to do with their life,
Hmm.
and that happens as well. But for me, I sort of I used to write a lot.
Hmm.
Uh, and with the timelines that I had with work, it was invariably impossible, because work life balance is like a unicorn. So let's not even go there.
Hmm.
Um, so I decided to write again, and write, not just write, but right now, I feel like the most urgent conversations aren't really about what AI can do, but how we, as creative and strategic humans, decide to collaborate with it.
Hmm.
So everyone knows the tools are accelerating faster than the frameworks. We get that. Every week we're sort of handed a new form of intelligence, but we're still running on legacy mental models,
Hmm.
um, built for scarcity, attention scarcity, media scarcity, creative bandwidth scarcity, So I guess the central question for me was, how do you build a brand system that doesn't just use AI, but evolve with it?
Hmm.
Uh, and a brand used to be a story, that we told at scale. Now it's a ecosystem of intelligent agents,
Hmm.
each learning, audience behavior in real time, and that kind of format demands, new ethics, new aesthetics, new governments,
Hmm.
because the moment your brand becomes sentient in like a micro way, you're no longer managing campaigns. Um, you're managing like a gigantic culture loop.
Mm.
So
I mean, it almost the way you talk about it, it's kind of like you're dealing with something that's almost alive. Like this, it's kind of these things with like algorithmic thinking behind them. It's like suddenly the people in charge of this are they're trying to tame something, not just like so. So what does non-zero sum game? What does it do?
that's right. So um, what happens to um, creativity when the barrier to expression is zero.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if everyone can generate infinite content, then creativity becomes less about sort of production and more about curation,
Mm-hmm.
taste, signal detection, that kind of thing, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
the next kind of, I feel the next kind of creative class will not be defined by who can make them the most, but rather who can make the meaning the fastest, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So non-zero sum game is kind of my experiment in reframing that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I mean,
Kind of,
sorry, continue.
yeah. So basically, it's just moving from competition to collaboration, content consciousness.
Mm,
So I feel that the brands that thrive in the next decade will be the ones that treat AI not as a cost-saving tool,
mm,
but as a co-philosopher kind of scenario that enables them to have a more fluid workflow. They are not responsible for like the output, so to speak.
mm,
If I put it in the most basic terms, like that is still up to the human and the
mm,
human creativity to run that at scale. And
mm,
then that's what non-zero sum game is. That's what I write about in there.
mm. It's kind of you're saying that the real shift is it's going to be like it's how it changes creative judgment. So, what are you noticing in teams? Uh, are you seeing people are applying AI in like I don't want to say the right way, but how is it affecting people? Because we're kind of are people kind of becoming complacent? Are you seeing even on a very basic level? Are people getting laid off? Like, how is this? What are you noticing AI is doing? And we're only a couple of years in.
Um, yeah, wow, that's a very loaded question, but
I didn't mean to. I'll
AI,
unload it.
AI, oh man, AI is when I said that creative judgment, it was actually a super loaded statement. You know, AI's biggest impact is not how we create, it's how we choose. You
Mm,
know, when a tool can generate 50 decent versions of an idea in a second, the real skill or yeah, the real skill becomes knowing which one really matters, you
mm,
know? And that's the judgment I'm talking about. It kind of forces, marketers and creators to kind of define, their taste, their ethics,
well, that's the
their
thing. Can taste be taught? Is taste just an innate skill?
it's defining it. That's what I'm talking about. Like
Mm,
it in a strange way, kind of AI is actually kind of exposing like who is creating by instinct and
mm,
who's creating by template.
mm, mm,
And you see it so often. The machine can handle the average, but the human has to decide what's meaningful.
mm.
Um, AI hasn't automated creativity, mate. It's automating mediocrity. And I've seen this all so often on a LinkedIn feed,
Oh,
you know, um,
hmm.
and and it's like some of these things that I think I was talking to my partner about this, and I was looking at some of the things on a feed, and I was like, wow, you need a mini MBA to decipher some of this stuff, and then you realize straight away
Mm. It's just garbage.
it's just garbage,
I mean, it's funny that you kind of touch on copywriting for a moment there. And copywriting is kind of how I got my start into this kind of field. I mean, and personally, I don't think good writing will go away, but it seemed like copywriting was the first thing for marketing to kind of like swing its hatchet at, so not marketing, AI, beg your pardon, to swing its hatchet at. It, do you think, I mean, and constantly, daily, depending on what algorithm or feed you're looking at, it's goodbye photographers, goodbye graphic designers, goodbye whoever. Are these people really being replaced, do you think?
um, no, I actually don't think so. Um, I think a lot of the processes and the way to get to certain things will be replaced.
Mm,
Um, it will make things a lot more fluid. The turnaround for things will be significantly quicker.
hmm.
Look, man, at the end of the day, the best AI workflows don't replace creativity.
Mm,
Um, they compress the distance between inspiration, execution. That's it.
mm, mm,
Um, we like to think we use it to expand imagination, but not outsource it. That's
Mm,
pretty much it. You know, the smartest teams aren't faster, they're freer.
mm, mm. Are there specific workflows you've seen AI genuinely improve the quality of, or the creative output of?
Well, look, there's a lot of tools and approaches I'm experimenting with at the moment, but like I think it was a couple of days ago that OpenAI released in-app functionality on their GPT, which pretty much means that you can regulate stuff from an AI perspective. You know, if you want learning, if you want to book stuff, it's in-app built.
Mm,
And if you think about that logically, that is not a new idea. Like WeChat has been doing that for years. Like
mm,
they've been popping inbuilt apps into their platform because obviously they want people to be so consumed with their experience natively rather than jump out and go to several different options. You know,
mhm,
let's book something on OpenTable. You know, let's go and study a course on Coursera.
mhm,
You know, everything is within one place, which brings me to the ideology that it would mean the death of the App Store as you know it.
mm.
Everything would be inbuilt, right?
Yeah, I mean, that specific point aside, I was about to say you seem like, as far as people go, you seem actually very optimistic about kind of the interplay between people and AI. A lot of people kind of scream out, "Oh no, it's gonna, it's gonna destroy an industry or industries." You seem really kind of, I think optimistic is almost the word, or just kind of pragmatic. You're like, no, 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 this is not gonna. It's a big moment, but it's maybe not the end of days like some people perceive it to be.
Well, the stuff that we're seeing is not the end of days.
Mm.
There's other stuff that could be the end of days. That's
Sure.
something that we can get into.
Mhm.
But look, man, it's like there are quite a few like genuine workflows where I've seen AI lift like creative output quality. And that's like, you know, that's what brings me to this sort of the state I am in today, you know? So
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of stuff that's currently in the market that people can use to sort of, compress that distance like I was talking about earlier, you know? So um, concept acceleration,
Mm.
iterative testing, story intelligence, stuff like that, where content remixing at scale.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's like no one looks at some of the really big time luxury brands and go, is that CGI or is that
Mm.
AI?
Mhm.
um, because they do it so well, like, and that's kind of like what I'm trying to get at. Like, it's going to just very calmly and sneakily just enter into an era where you're not going to be able to tell the difference. Number
Mm.
one. Number two, I feel people are just socially conditioned to thinking that now when they see even something that's remotely animated or CGI or VFX, that's AI
Mhm.
because of what AI has done from that sloptimization of content approach, which is like um, just another thing that's on the radar at the moment.
I mean, that kind of, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like I've seen, I mean, personally, I've worked with brands and when we've used AI to do, to a shoot that would have cost $20,000 and taken up a whole weekend
Yep.
is now, you get a fantastic product shot in a couple of seconds and it's turn it into a beautiful movie. No one knows the difference.
Yep.
Do you think you mentioned the way that people see, we're almost kind of so sensitive to it now. Like you said, like everything we see, like, oh, that's got to be AI. We call bullshit on everything.
Yep.
Um, do you think that kind of response to how do brands combat that? It almost seems like our from the get go, we just don't have trust in what we're seeing. How do brands get through that in a time where fake news, misinformation, all like the internet's becoming, as you said, sloptimized at an outstanding pace. How do brands maintain course?
Well, this is the thing. So the 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 word sloptimize was coined by this really super epic strategist that I follow on LinkedIn. His name's Joe Burns.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about a lot of stuff with relevance to kind of sloptimization online, And look, if you're like a brand in this day and age kind of struggling and you're trying to figure out, okay, what's next, what do we do now?
Mm.
Um, it all starts with kind of retuning your frequency,
Mm-hmm.
understanding deeply where the attention ecosystem actually lives.
Mm-hmm.
And how your story as a brand travels kind of through that ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
That means mapping, the field. So to borrow from kind of Joe Burns' language,
Mm-hmm.
um, the creators, micro communities and emotional truths that define your category as a brand, um, then sort of simplify the signal.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Could you give me an example of that? Do you have like not to put you on the spot, but could you give me an example of how that plays out in real life?
well, I'd say it's just about killing jargon,
Mm-hmm.
from your comms, like kill jargon, kind of in comms, drop your ego.
Mm-hmm.
Find that one sentence that that kind of emulates why you exist.
Mm-hmm.
Until you can say that clearly,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like no media plan will save you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like the sort of the way I see it. I mean, if I was to look at it from a what does that look like in today's world, there are people who are doing like some really cool um, stuff, like authentic stuff behind campaigns. Like
Mm-hmm.
probably the most one of the campaigns that stuck out to me the most is this most unassuming brand. It's called Jaipur Rugs.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the stuff that they've been doing online, just on like even if you look on Instagram, it's like
Jaipur
probably
rugs.
Jaipur Rugs.
Jaipur rugs. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, and they are kind of like what I would call as they're on the pulse, they are on the money. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they know what they want to be doing, and the reason for that is when you ask me is they don't just buy attention. They kind of weave it. No pun intended.
Outstanding. Wow.
So what they did was they kind of they started this campaign during Wimbledon,
Mm-hmm.
and they transformed a typical tennis match logic into a kind of craft manifesto. So it spotlighted human dignity somewhere, asserts that kind of beautiful brands play in the symbolic realm, not the promotional one.
Mm-hmm.
The I guess if I was a CFO, I'd be kind of questioning the real test now is whether that symbolism becomes substrate.
Mm-hmm.
so so whether the campaign becomes a new way the brand lives, not just a visual stunt, is it translating into like the bottom line?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because even when the most um, arresting kind of moment dies, Patrick,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that narrative that still endures is kind of what builds that legacy for that brand.
Mm.
And I feel like that's what brands in today's age, with everything the noise that's happening around you, need to do.
Mm. Well, when you're like, because you're doing a lot of consulting work at the moment,
Yeah.
um, what what are people coming to you for? What are you finding a kind of repeat repeat questions? Are people kind of hitting the same hurdles every time? Or as you mentioned, are you just trying to convince people? Are you just dragging people into the digital world, or are you seeing repeat problems kind of rear their heads every time?
Absolutely. It is literally the same thing over and over again. And it's funnily enough, it's the same thing around not just digital. It's AI.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, Everyone wants to. join the party,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody has any idea as to one, whether there's any point to the party or there's any objective to join the party in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, same can be said of social media and brands like about 8 to 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and a lot of brands just jumped in while the water was organic and warm,
Mm-hmm.
only to find out 8 years later that it was a gigantic pay to play model. And now everything is pay to play. So
Mm-hmm.
understanding why big businesses makes reams of content and put $0 value on it is beyond me.
Right. So, I mean, what do you, I mean, because now, like, as you said, like 8, 9 years ago, that you could just do organic and the growth you could see would be amazing. Now it's a pay to play game. It's shoulder to shoulder in there. How do you stand out? How does anyone from the individual, the personal brand to the huge multinational, how do people cut through?
Look, it's actually, quite similar. Some of this consulting stuff I was doing, like a lot of the businesses I'm doing have the same model. They treat digital like a dumping ground for leftovers,
Mm-hmm.
and these are the small to medium size, so too many brands like will spend top amount of dollar um, creating this out of the box DVC, and they still use digital to press, copy and randomize content fragments from it, and then wonder why nothing sticks on a channel.
Mm.
So the internet isn't a bin for repurposed assets.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I've been trying to tell most of the people that I deal with. It's an ecosystem with its own physics, language and tempo. And if you're going to win, understand that context is the real creativity.
Mm.
Content isn't king anymore. It's context. So a TikTok is not a YouTube shot, is not a reel.
Mm. Mm.
So,
How is because now it is the attention economy is
yeah.
we're living it right now, and because competition is so fierce, particularly on social. Is there anywhere that you're kind of that even comes close? Like where are you pointing people? Like this is what's the lowest hanging fruit for people? What's the stuff they should definitely be putting their time into? I'm just as brand building goes. Like is it still just here? Like where are we looking?
Well, mobile is always is going to be there for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but but virtually designed networks is where I see things moving to.
Explain that to me. What a virtually designed network? What is that?
So like when people wear wearables and like meta glasses, for example. So
Mm-hmm.
everything's going to be designed for display. Um, so near field display, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the one thing I guess to stop doing is broadcasting content that's designed for nowhere, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you're a small brand or a super large brand, start making things that are super native to the medium and alive in the moment, because relevance kind of dies the moment you post something that looks like it's wandered in from someone else. And that is a timeless kind of logic I've had across the board,
Mm-hmm.
For me, I feel if a brand's actually going to be looking at a future state, let's look at it this way, right? So the past has been um, optimization,
Mm-hmm.
and to this day and age, still pretty much is. It gave us like high levels of efficiency, but what it also did was flatten everything.
Mm-hmm.
Every brand now speaks with the same polite precision,
Mm-hmm.
like AI trained on brand guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like the next wave um, of what people are looking at or consuming will reject that logic entirely. Um, I think you were talking about the attention economy. I feel like creative will move away from that automation to more an orchestration, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
What that will look like um, in I think what that will look like in real life will be like shifting campaigns to kind of a living system. You know, ideas that that evolve from feedback loops. Like like biological organisms, so to speak. So
Mm-hmm.
brand team will act less like factories and more like, conductors,
Mm-hmm.
hence the orchestration. So, understanding and interpreting signals across culture, community, and code. And this is where the AI comes in to provide that workflow.
Mm.
And the reason why I sound excited about
Mm.
this is that emotional layer is coming back, man. After a decade of like just, swimming up to my neck in A/B tests and templates, the brands that feel alive are actually will be imperfect, even unpredictable, will really start to stand out. Chaos will become a creative asset again. And, I'm here for it.
It seems like that's a really exciting concept, but like I mean, as someone on the outside of this, kind of looking in, I'm looking at these brands, and it just seems like everyone is just so stuck on the tracks, and they're just all doing the same things.
Yeah.
Uh, and I just to dig deeper on this point, like you mentioned wearables, but particularly chaos. Like, how do people harness this? What does that look like in practice? Like, you got the Zoom meeting,
Yeah.
everyone in the room putting their heads together. I mean, what does that actually look like?
Look, I feel like there's some brands already moving this direction, to be fair.
Can we just discuss any brands that you think are doing
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. So I feel like the ones that are already that come to mind are like, like Liquid Death or
Mm-hmm,
Lego, Duolingo,
mm-hmm,
Nike.
mm-hmm,
They're not like optimizing, campaigns anymore. They're orchestrating this ecosystem that I'm talking about. I feel like they're training their algorithm to a new creative frontier in some way.
mm,
But I'm seeing stuff that's different from them. It's like a living system. It's not a marketing machine.
mm-hmm,
And that's when you look at it from the outside, you can see the shift. It's not looking like it's wanting you to buy it. It's just wanting you to experience it.
mm.
And there's a huge difference with when that play is happening.
I mean, just Liquid Death, for example. Like, I mean, their big thing was like it's Liquid Death. It's a water
Yep,
brand. That's
yep.
just that pairing is so, um, just two completely disparate ideas. And truthfully, I haven't seen a great deal from them since that. Like, what are they doing? You get excited to buy these brands, and particularly Duolingo. Duolingo's just I mean, the branding with the owl, their personality, like all this stuff. I'm just wondering, is there anything you've seen from them recently that you go like that's still working? Because it almost seems like something like Liquid Death, fantastic idea, fantastic premise, so out of the box from the get go. But then it's kind of like, where do you go from there? How do you wow people again?
Yeah, I agree. Like, what I'm seeing so far from brands like this is, from an attention economy perspective, is they there's a lot of meaningful intent with the stuff that they're putting out.
Right.
And it's not a large amount of it is like, we used to see before, was very in your face.
Mm-hmm.
You as a team, you kind of rebuild marketing, you know, um, not as a megaphone, like it was in the past, but now as a propagation system. It's sort of, designed to be kind of shared, remix and emotionally useful to the people who consume that content.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's how you kind of shift from talking at people to being talked about. And that's what I feel like, Liquid Death is doing. In my opinion, I feel like when I read that, it's like, dude, it's water. But that's the shift. If you're going to be like gaining attention and putting it into a culture loop, it's about talking the language of the people and in kind of engaging them in that lifestyle and that culture from the get go, rather than selling them something that is, in my opinion, not going to make it on the shelf. In fact, not even off the shelf.
Mm. I mean, speaking the language of your customer base is a really interesting one. How do you avoid, how do you avoid sounding disingenuous or just kind of, it almost reminds me of that like Steve Buscemi meme where he's holding the skateboard and he's like, "Hey, young kids." Um, how do you, how did, brands maintain like just genuine, and people talk about, oh, just be genuine online so much to the point that that's even being genuine now seems ingenuine, particularly on the personal, on the sorry the solopreneur kind of level. How do brands keep the genuine voice, particularly in their interactions with their customer base?
Yeah, I hate to say, but it's just being authentic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's staying true to um, who the brand or the general brand ethos really is. Like for example, like Four'N Twenty is like one of their biggest um, you know core pillars was like mateship and keeping it real,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just general true blue kind of Aussie um, pillars that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So if you combine the two and you look at it from a hypothetical or a real life situation at the footy, what does that look like?
Mm.
You know, holding someone's beer while they put sauce on their meat pie.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff. Someone
Mm.
drops the beer, you hold their seat. It's general, really good human kind of behavior
Mm-hmm.
that the brand is kind of built on, or the legacy of the brand is built on, true blue kind of scenario. And that's the kind of logic or the language that we use online. And
Mm.
it's worked really well because like a lot of people will fight for us. Like a classic example is I'll give you an example, right? So we were going to release a meat-free pie.
Right.
And suddenly all the meat eaters, mostly men,
Of course.
um, just lashed out at us. It was just a heady mix of fragile masculinity and just a bunch of really toxic egos that
Mm-hmm.
came together in one
Mm-hmm.
defining moment, trying to take down a bunch of vegans who are online saying, "This is amazing and thank you for
Mm.
being." But what happened was someone leaked it. So we ran the coattails of that wave.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of just going, "Thank you for your feedback online,"
Mm-hmm.
we clapped back.
Right.
So
Uh,
we
It, it,
said,
sorry, continue. What did the clapback look like?
well, from a customer experience perspective, most big brands will like frown on you when they're like, if someone gives you like a disparaging comment online, one of the first things you're going to say is thank you for your feedback, and we'll take it and come back with something. That's
Mm-hmm.
now, right? In
Mm-hmm.
this economy. Back in the day, which I'm not talking about like 20 years ago, I'm talking about literally 5 years ago. This is
Mm-hmm.
pre-COVID,
Mm-hmm.
right? So back in the day, if someone said or gave you a good enough reason that we went down to the servo and we bought a pie, and I'm a big ad brand advocate of yours. I bought a pie, and this pie was terrible. It had no meat in it, and the first thing we direct the team to do is look, get his details, send him something in return.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of goodwill, right? So that customer acquisition strategy is always in play.
Mm-hmm.
Acquisition, retention, keep it in the back of your head.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone just comes to you straight away using the filthiest of language
Mm-hmm.
and your pies are shit, you shouldn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
clap back.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no, and we can do that with a brand like Four'N Twenty because we used to live the kind of moniker or the kind of attitude the brand had, and it was amazing. Like the kind of community that rallied around that one singular campaign was ridiculous. Like
Mm-hmm.
um, we ended up in the in the in the Business Insider, in the Financial Review of all places.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, it's just a multitude of like syndications across all media and newsrooms talking about the same thing. How Four'N Twenty clap back, and I mean, I do talk about that at scale from time to time, but it's just something that I've realized that if you take a stance online, Even though someone is telling you like that is not what you should be doing, it could be detrimental to the brand. That's the authentic nature of what a brand can emulate and turn it into something extremely positive
Mm,
that can have ripples for future state as well.
mm. I mean, and also with a brand like Four'N 20, like it's got the tree's that big, the roots go that deep. It's like you're not cutting this thing down because you don't like a certain pie flavor that we've released, or like does or doesn't have meat. Are there any other campaigns that you've like been a part of, not necessarily with Patties, but anywhere that you're like really proud of, or any
Uh,
campaigns that were disasters?
oh man, there's quite a few campaigns that were disasters, but we've kind of learned from them. But there was a business I used to work for, which was called Super Sprint Events, that then merged its name to SMA Media, and they were basically an event company that were running events around Australia. So they were sporting events, bike rides, triathlons, marathons, that kind of thing, right? So one of the things I was probably the most proud of while I was heading up digital strategy there was releasing Australia's first live timing app.
Live
So
timing app, live timing.
yeah, so you're watching your mate. Now it's a thing of the past. Now everyone's got live timing, but
Hmm.
back then, like 15 years ago, it was a massive thing. So you could watch your mate doing a Gatorade triathlon series at St Kilda Beach in Katani Gardens, right?
Hmm.
And he's got a 2K swim. It's a long distance triathlon. He's got a 2K swim, and you put in his bib number, and his tracker will follow him throughout here through transitions, picking up his bike, going for so you can track him. Now,
Hmm.
back then, that technology was like, it was fairly new. There were so many glitches.
Hmm.
Um, so, given that there was a lot of hoo ha around releasing it, the digital comms around it that went out, socially, um, we let a whole bunch of people know. There was campaigns in place, media was involved. Um, and I'd say for the first couple of races, it failed miserably, you know, but then it started to pick up. We ironed out um, avenues of improvement. We found loopholes that we then kind of tightened up. The process became a lot more fluid.
Hmm.
And give or take, within the third or fourth, we had like 65,000 signups for the
Wow.
next event of people wanting to watch people complete events. It made it to the front page of the Apple Store as one of the most downloaded apps
Wow.
that quarter. And in my opinion, like the guy who was running the company back then was this guy called David Hansen.
Hmm.
He did commentating for the 2000 Sydney Games triathlon, and he's a legend of a human.
Hmm.
Uh, Also, one of my bosses who's like when when you report to someone who truly believes in you,
Hmm.
he's one of those guys.
Yeah,
So,
those are great people to have in your corner. It's a good feeling.
yeah, yeah. And he would always like come up to me. He's like, "Dude, it's 4 a.m. Like, how are you so bubbly?" But that's kind of like I'm a morning person, so
Sure.
I don't know. Can you tell? Like,
Yeah, I can. You talked about like the just then you mentioned like it failed miserably, and and then given enough time, it actually succeeded. When do you know that maybe a campaign's not working? That something that actually this isn't going to work. When do you pull the plug on something?
when it starts to affect the brand,
Okay.
it's pretty easy to see, Patrick. Like
Yeah.
um, once you start to see ripples online, and look, in today's day and age, we've got social listening and social intelligence tools connected into the environment. We've got media monitoring and media listening tools connected into the environment. Across the board, we have business intelligence APIs also connected into the environment. So we know where the ebb and flow of chatter is kind of happening.
Hmm.
So one of the key things that we measure is brand sentiment. So if that starts to pop higher than a 4 or 5% in a period of 30 days, okay, that's a flag,
Hmm.
and start to pull.
Hmm.
So um, and that's sort of we didn't have those kind of systems back in the day. We have them now, which is why it's so easy to make that decision uh, um, from a platform standpoint. And
Yeah.
um, now with AI in the picture, you can pretty much map that out from the get go.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about breaking code. Is it breaking code or breaking the code? Breaking code?
Yeah, breaking code. That's it.
An audiovisual project of yours. What can you tell me about it? What and why and how does it work?
Well, I feel like breaking code is more like a ritual rather than a project. You know, it's like
Okay.
it's not about content or conversion. It's kind of like more about transmission. No campaign, no KPIs, just signal kind of emotion, shared frequency, and strangely, that working with these two guys has kind of sharpened my approach to storytelling and strategy as a result of it, which more than any playbook ever has, you know. So um, where breaking code really started was I have a bunch of mates that who I'm really good mates with. One of them obviously is he's an engineer, structural engineer. The other one is heads up content strategy. He's worked for Vice and YouTube, um, and we share a very sort of similar meaning through sound, motion, and sensation. Right? So what we together we kind of try and push that into a living ritual for people, that is. So a sound experiment in nature, and it's built on synths and samplers and live instruments, and we kind of try and design a kind of wordless arc of transformation for people who attend. So
Right.
breaking,
Like a live experience kind of thing?
yeah, it is. So it's kind of part ritual, part kind of responsive emotional kind of engine. And we use music as a expression. There's a lot of modular synthesis involved. It's kind of very glitchy, but at the same time, you know, there's no script. So that's kind of what I'm, you know, working in the background with. We already had one of these in July. Sadly, I wasn't here for the first one. I was away, as we spoke earlier, with my dad. But the second one's happening in November, which is kind of what we're working towards presenting this time around. So I feel it's a really great way to be a bit more artistic and unfenced, you know, not having to be defined by parameters. But at the same time, it's great storytelling is kind of, in my opinion, is felt before it's understood. And that's what we kind of try and emulate here.
And this is like a live ticketed event kind of thing?
Yeah, it is.
Where can people get tickets?
I'll shoot you a link.
Beautiful.
Sure.
I'm just, but I've got a few more questions for you before we wrap up. Because we've covered so much. And I'm just kind of, I'm wondering for small companies or for any company really, where do they start? Particularly people that are maybe struggling with relevance and don't know how to get into digital. They're just, where should people put their time?
Yeah, I think we spoke about this earlier. It was, I think I'm going to stress on that retuning the frequency bit because, I think that, and this is kind of the companies I'm working with, like right now. To be fair, you know, so a lot of the thing is just a lot of legacy information that they feel that they need to share that I feel is of zero worth to the consumer. And that's where I was talking about simplifying the signal, you know, so you know, killing the jargon, finding that one sentence, that mission that explains why you exist, and then build that big, hairy, audacious goal from there, you know. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at, where you build that propagation system.
And is that kind of, I mean, because you have been you've been doing this for so long, and I'm just curious, at the beginning, the lessons that were gospel when you started are now no longer relevant. What's something that is like maintained that, no matter what the technology, no matter, who's driving, what is a golden rule that, in your opinion, still holds true from when you started?
Okay. So I guess back then, a lot of brands, I feel, didn't see this, and they confused um, movement with momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of brands back then, mistake constant activity, for progress.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sprinting on a treadmill and calling it a marathon.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what's um, come full circle, and now people have understood the actual reasoning behind it and the intent behind that power shift. So when you move to fast to kind of stay relevant,
Mm-hmm.
you lose coherence. The audience might notice you, but they definitely won't remember you.
Mm-hmm.
Speed without any storyline creates some kind of amnesia.
Mm-hmm.
And every post you look at today online, or every piece of content that you look online, becomes a disposable headline
Mm-hmm.
instead of part of a larger narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I think the irony is that in trying to stay sort of current, you end up erasing your own consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And after all these years, consistency is what builds trust in a brand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing that I feel has stayed constant, but has gone through a myriad of different sort of evolutions to come back to its full circle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you, is there an example? You talk about the way we consume content, the going on a treadmill, and just not realizing maybe we're actually running a marathon with these things.
Yeah.
Is there a time when, or an example of when like less is more? Because I feel like certain brands or creators just think that in order to stand out, I just
Yeah.
need to be throwing everything at the wall. It's just constant, almost like a just endless barrage of signal, or noise even. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Like reactive marketing, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's okay. That's that's uh that's a semi-so topic for me. I feel like
What, sorry?
it's a semi-so kind of topic,
Okay.
reactive marketing. Because now people, back then it was reactive, now it's like trend jacking,
Mm-hmm.
and it's literally the same thing, but at the end of the day, it's what you do is like seasoning, right? So it makes the meal memorable, but then too much of it ruins the dish.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I feel like the key is to knowing why you're reacting, and if you're jumping on that kind of logic just to be visible, you are not being relevant. You're just being needy from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But when a cultural moment presents itself and genuinely intersects with your brand's DNA, then yes, 100%. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen brands do it the right way, and I've seen brands do some horrendous things.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that. I mean, I think Pepsi's Kendall Jenner ad belongs here.
Mm-hmm.
There's um, like when brands try and post during national tragedies,
Mm.
like fast food chains dropping thoughts and prayer graphics in their brand colors.
Mm.
That's just like ridiculous.
Mm.
Tone deaf, it's reactive, and you're instantly memed into oblivion for that.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then I guess the other one is like people chasing AI trends. That's the most recent thing I've seen. So you've got I'm not going to mention any names here, but you've got legacy brands rushing to use AI in literally every campaign.
Right.
Just because it's hot, so you slap a mid-journey render on a billboard, and you're calling it innovation.
Yeah.
That's not innovation, mate. That's cosplay
Yeah.
at best.
Yeah.
So what I feel is should be the game changer right now is people understanding um, what they're planning to do with brand by using enhanced decision making
Mm-hmm.
and using AI not as a creative input, but as a creative workflow.
Mm.
That's about it. You know, um, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, look, that's kind of all I've got for you. But I feel like I'm just want to make sure we haven't like missed anything that you wanted to speak about. I feel like we're just running down a highway and there's little avenues we could go down the whole time. But that's fascinating, man. It's your take on kind of AI and technology, and I really appreciate just like I don't, blunt isn't the word, but it's just a pragmatic approach to it. Uh, Truthfully, like I had heard that you were something of like a rock star in the scene, so I was kind of like, I was very, very keen to talk to you. And it's just been really, really refreshing, man. It's been like genuinely quite eye opening, and like you're a really interesting guy to talk to. I'm almost annoyed to be wrapping this up, but it's just I don't know. I feel like there's a lot I could learn from you, and I want to do that. Honestly.
Oh man, I'm hardly the rock star. I'll take it, but hardly. You know, like I'm just like I love to read more. I love to like imbibe myself in just like future tech and understand how it's going to work for me from a creative perspective. You know,
Mhm.
I'm working on some really cool stuff with mates.
Mhm.
Uh, that is quite the bang opposite of what we just spoke about.
Mhm.
Obviously, it is AI platforms, but this is like, talking about monitoring bees and chickens and stuff like that, like,
Yeah.
really cool aggro kind of tech.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I feel, I feel like the cool thing that I see, I think to end with is I feel like AI isn't just going to reshape um, storytelling. It's going to help kind of change the geometry of it. Like,
Mm.
and that's kind of right now, most brand stories that we're looking at, Pat, are pretty linear, in my
Mhm.
opinion. Like,
Mhm.
it's like we write, publish, optimize, repeat, bang.
Yeah.
But AI, specifically in its new agentic form, will
Mm.
turn that process into an ecosystem. That's the thing that I'm kind of been harping on about, which I'd love to learn more about and get
Mm.
involved with someone who's doing it.
Mm.
You know, brand won't just tell stories anymore. They'll
Mm.
host them.
Mm.
And AI in turn will kind of let those audiences like remix and co-author and personalize narratives in real time.
Mhm.
And I don't know what that looks like, but if this is kind of what I meant by um, storytelling becoming less about control and more about orchestration,
Mm.
and I feel that is when the real shift will happen. That's my most important kind of like takeaway from all this. Brands move away from being broadcasters to kind of world builders. Like,
Mm.
we won't measure. I mean, this is like going out of the scientific realm and saying we're not going to measure impressions anymore, but imprints, like how deeply a story embeds
Mm.
psychologically to someone's behavior or memory or identity. Right now, there's a lot of like platforms that talk about, measuring psychographics before you advertise or make something memorable. But from a strategic lens, I think we're entering the agentic era.
Mm.
Um, they don't just generate content, they understand the context and act on it. And
Mm.
the brands or the people that will thrive will be the ones that use it to scale meaning, not just messaging. That's
Mm.
it.
Mm. Man, I kind of I want to get educated on this stuff more. I want to kind of if I could be in a position like yours in like 10, 15 years, I'd be so happy. Like that I'm just like where can you point me as someone who's like I find that just the things you're touching on just so interesting, like just the way people perceive messages and how kind of we are influenced by that, the decisions we make. Where would you point someone to go and get educated to do their homework? Because and also follow-up question, are you noticing I've got the impression that because so many of us we're now fluent with this. We know how this works. This is
Yeah.
how that is digital to that's a huge portion of digital.
Yeah.
Uh, the educated versus the uneducated, and I mean literally the diplomas, the bachelors, these people.
Yep.
Are you seeing that still a requirement for people in the space, or is it just the thinkers and the creatives who like? Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, how important is
Yes,
that stereotypical orthodox education today in the space?
You're just talking about like understanding how AI works, number one, and basically finding a spot to kind of learn more about it, right?
Mm. But and even digital transformation, digital marketing as a that on top of it, you know.
There are a truckload of resources online from pretty like notary people. Like Google, for example, offers so many free courses on like agentic stuff. If you just go to their developer portal, right?
Mm-hmm.
NVIDIA, if you keep a tab on them,
Mm-hmm.
they drop free courses every single quarter. So does Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, LinkedIn Learning also has like if you're just starting out, that's a great place to start. If you jumped on LinkedIn Learning, and you can watch a whole bunch of stuff about AI and thought leadership within AI, content strategy, digital optimization from an agentic perspective. And then it's your typical kind of Coursera format, you know, where you go through a whole bunch of stuff and then they ask you a quiz and then you kind of understand it. So it's fresh in your mind on the kind of knowledge you acquire. But I feel your question about people needing to learn this or understand it, yes. If you use the same comparison as when people first got smartphones, right, it's the same logic. You would need to understand how a smartphone works from a user interface perspective, right? Or it's like looking at my mom, who's like in her 80s, bless her, and she's got a smartphone, and she takes a picture, and then she completely logs out of the entire thing to then go into the Photos app to find the picture. Not realizing that a back button could have done a quicker job, right? So it's basically understanding that logic on how things work to make your life simpler. Like that's it.
Sure. So why wouldn't you do the work is what you're saying. Like, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, on that note, I will, man, I appreciate it so much. That was genuinely fascinating. Really such a pleasure talking to you. I really, really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Pat.
No worries, man. You too. Chat to you soon. Bye.
Ciao. Bye.